A man saved twin beggar girls on the street and took them home to his sick mother on Christmas Eve. When he returned from work a few hours later, he was paralyzed by what he saw. The biting Christmas Eve wind whipped through the deserted streets. Jack, a 40-year-old nurse, walked briskly, anxious to get home after another exhausting hospital shift. His footsteps echoed in the silence of the night when an unexpected sound made him stop abruptly. A muffled sob. Jack frowned, his nursing instincts on alert. The sound came from a dark alley to his right. He hesitated for a moment, fatigue weighing on his shoulders, but something compelled him to investigate. "Hello?" he called out, his voice breaking the stillness of the night. The sob ceased, replaced by a tense silence. Jack took a few steps into the alley, his eyes adjusting to the darkness. That's when he saw them. Two small girls, no older than 6, huddled against the cold brick wall. Identical twins, with disheveled blonde hair and wide blue eyes filled with fear. They were trembling, their lips purple from the cold, dressed unsuitably for the harsh winter. Jack's heart tightened. "Hey, it's all right," he said softly, crouching down to their level. "I'm Jack. I'm a nurse. Are you hurt?" The girls exchanged glances, clearly frightened and distrustful. The braver-looking twin spoke in a trembling voice. We're hungry." Jack felt a wave of compassion. "What are your names? Where are your parents?" "I'm Emma," said the one who had spoken first. "She's Olivia. Mom left us here." The revelation hit Jack like a punch. Abandoned, on Christmas Eve. Memories of his own turbulent childhood invaded his mind. Cold nights, hunger, fear. He shook his head, pushing the memories aside. "Come on," he said, holding out his hands. "Let's get you out of the cold." The girls hesitated, years of mistrust evident in their eyes. Jack felt a lump in his throat. "I promise I won't hurt you. I have hot food at home. And we can call someone to help you." Emma and Olivia exchanged another look, a silent conversation passing between them. Finally, slowly, they took Jack's hands. As they walked out of the alley, the reality of the situation began to weigh on Jack. What was he doing, taking 2 unknown children home? And what about his mother, Susan, gravely ill? How could he care for 2 abandoned girls? But as he looked down and saw Emma and Olivia walking hesitantly at his side, he knew he couldn't just leave them. Not on Christmas Eve, not with the ghost of his own childhood hovering over him. "I live just a few blocks from here," he said, trying to sound reassuring. "My mom will love to meet you." The girls didn't respond, but their hold on Jack's hands grew tighter. With each step toward his home, Jack's mind raced. What would he tell Susan? How would he explain 2 abandoned children arriving on Christmas Eve? And what should he do afterward? Call the police, social services? The image of Emma and Olivia being taken to a cold, impersonal shelter on Christmas night made his stomach churn. No, he couldn't let that happen. At least not tonight. They reached Jack's small house. He paused at the door, looking at the twins. "It's all right," he murmured, more to himself than them. "Let's go in and warm up, okay?" When the door opened, the warmth and the smell of freshly baked cookies enveloped them. Jack heard his mother's weak voice coming from the living room. "Jack, is that you, dear?" He took a deep breath, holding the girl's hands firmly. This was the moment of truth. Whatever happened next, Jack knew his life was about to change forever. "Yes, Mom," he answered, voice slightly trembling. "And I brought some company for Christmas." The silence following Jack's statement was deafening. He guided Emma and Olivia inside, their hesitant footsteps echoing through the quiet house. As they entered the living room, lit by the soft glow of the Christmas tree, Jack saw his mother, Susan, seated in her favorite armchair. Susan's eyes widened at the sight of the 2 shivering girls beside her son. "Jack, what?" "Mom," Jack began, his voice a mix of nerves and determination. "This is Emma and Olivia. I found them abandoned on the street." Susan gasped, her face pale from illness, twisting in shock and compassion. Despite her weakness, she leaned forward, extending her arms toward the twins. "Oh, you poor things," Susan murmured, voice choked with emotion. Come here, dears, you must be freezing." Emma and Olivia looked to Jack for reassurance. He nodded gently, and they approached Susan, cautious. "I'll get something warm for them to eat," Jack said, heading to the kitchen. While heating soup, he could hear his mother's soft voice chatting with the twins. Returning with 2 steaming bowls, Jack found a surprising scene. Susan had wrapped the girls in a soft blanket, and they were snuggled beside her in the armchair. Her face, usually marked by pain and exhaustion, now glowed with a vitality he hadn't seen in months. "Here we go," said Jack, handing the bowls to the girls. They began to eat hungrily, as if they hadn't seen food in days. "Jack," Susan called quietly, beckoning him closer. "What happened? How did you find them?" He briefly explained the encounter in the alley, speaking softly so as not to frighten the twins. Susan listened intently, tears welling in her eyes. "Poor angels," she whispered. "Jack, we can't send them away, not tonight." Jack nodded, feeling both relief and apprehension. "I know, Mom, but what next?" "I have to return to the hospital for the night shift." "And you?" Susan waved a dismissive hand. "I'll be fine. These girls need us, Jack." Just then, Emma, the more talkative twin, looked up from her nearly empty bowl. "Thank you for the food," she said timidly. "We haven't eaten something so good in a long time." Jack's heart constricted. "Could you tell me what happened? Where's your mum?" Olivia, who had been silent until then, spoke with a trembling voice. "Mum left us in the alley. She said she'd be right back, but she always says that," Emma added, her voice carrying a maturity beyond her years. "Sometimes she disappears for days. She drinks a lot." Susan hugged the girls tighter, exchanging a meaningful glance with Jack. He knew all too well the effects of alcoholism on a family. "You're safe now," Susan murmured, stroking the twins' hair. "No one will hurt you here." Jack glanced at the clock, feeling the weight of responsibility. His night shift at the hospital would start soon, but how could he leave this situation? "Mom, I have to go to work," he said reluctantly. "Are you sure you'll be okay with them?" To his surprise, Susan seemed more energized than he had seen in months. "Of course, dear. Go, don't worry. I'll take good care of them." Jack knelt before the twins, meeting their eyes. "Emma, Olivia, I have to leave for a few hours, but I promise I'll be back, okay? You're safe here with my mum." The girls nodded, still clinging to Susan as if she were a lifeline. As he prepared to leave, Jack couldn't help noticing how the house, once silent and weighed down by Susan's illness, now seemed full of life. His mother's gentle laughter drifted from the living room, accompanied by the twins' shy murmurs. At the door, he hesitated, looking back. Susan was showing the girls an old photo album, their voices low and comforting. For a moment, Jack glimpsed a scene he'd never thought possible. A family. With a heavy yet oddly hopeful heart, Jack stepped into the cold night. On his way to the hospital, his mind teemed with questions and worries. What would happen to Emma and Olivia? How could he help them? And what impact would this night have on their lives? But one thing was certain, that Christmas Eve had changed everything. And Jack, for the first time in a long while, felt that maybe, just maybe, miracles did happen. The night shift at the hospital felt endless to Jack. His thoughts kept drifting back to Emma, Olivia, and his mother Susan, left alone to care for 2 unknown children. Guilt and worry gnawed at him, making it hard to focus. When he finally returned home in the early hours of Christmas morning, Jack was exhausted and anxious. He turned the key in the lock as quietly as possible, expecting a silent house, everyone asleep. What awaited him on the other side of the door left him frozen in place. Laughter, joyful, carefree laughter. The sound was so unexpected that for a moment Jack thought he'd stepped into the wrong house. But no, that was definitely his mother's laughter, a sound he hadn't heard in months. Following the sound, Jack entered the living room and stood open-mouthed at the scene before him. Susan, who in recent months could barely leave her bed, sat on the floor, not just sitting, but actively playing with Emma and Olivia. The 3 were surrounded by scraps of colored paper, apparently making Christmas crafts. "Mom?" Jack managed to stammer, still unable to believe his eyes. Susan looked up, her face lit by a smile Jack hadn't seen in years. "Oh, Jack, you're back. Come and join us. The girls and I are making decorations for the tree." Emma and Olivia, seeing Jack, smiled shyly. They looked completely different from the frightened, distrustful children he'd found the night before. How was the night?" Jack asked, still stunned, sitting down on the couch. "Oh, it was wonderful," Susan exclaimed, eyes sparkling. "The girls are delightful. We talked baked cookies. You must taste them, Jack. Olivia has a natural gift in the kitchen, and then we started this project. I didn't even notice the time passing." Jack stared at his mother in amazement. The energy in her voice, the color in her cheeks, the ease with which she moved. It all seemed impossible considering her condition of recent months. "Mom, are you sure you're not overexerting yourself? Your health—" Susan cut him off with a wave. "I've never felt better, dear. It's as if these girls brought life back into this house." Jack looked at Emma and Olivia, absorbed in their crafting but clearly listening. They seemed more relaxed, happier. "Jack," Emma said suddenly, glancing up from her work, "your mom told us stories about when you were a kid. Did you really set the curtains on fire trying a science experiment?" Jack laughed, surprised. "Yes, unfortunately. I was a very curious boy." "Like us," Olivia exclaimed, opening up for the first time. "We love science. At school, before all this, we were the best in class at science." Jack's heart clenched at the thought of what they must have gone through. Yet here they were, smiling and creating happy memories in his living room. As hours passed, Jack was drawn into their activities. He helped hang the handmade decorations on the tree, tasted the delicious cookies, and even joined an improvised game of charades. During a quiet moment, while the twins were distracted with a puzzle, Susan pulled Jack aside. "Jack," she said, voice low and intense, "I know what you're thinking. And yes, I agree. We can't just send them away." Jack sighed, running a hand through his hair. "Mom, I want to help them, I really do, but how? We barely get by with your medical expenses and—" "Listen," Susan interrupted, holding his hands. "Since these girls arrived, I feel different, stronger, like I have a purpose again, Jack. They need us. And I think we need them too." Jack looked at Emma and Olivia, engrossed in their puzzle, quietly chatting. He thought of how this house, once silent and worried, now brimmed with laughter and life. "But what about the legal side?" he asked, concern evident. "We can't just keep them. There are laws, procedures." Susan nodded understandingly. "I know, dear. But let's start by giving them love, a home, stability. The rest we'll figure out later." Jack closed his eyes, letting the reality sink in. When he opened them again, his decision was made. "Okay," he said softly. "Let's try. Let's give them the best Christmas possible, and then we'll see what we can do." Susan's smile lit up her whole face. "Oh, Jack. You've always had such a big heart. These girls are lucky to have you." Just then, Emma called from across the room. "Jack, Susan, come see. We finished the puzzle." As they rejoined the twins, Jack felt a wave of emotion wash over him. He didn't know what the future held, but he knew his life had changed irrevocably this Christmas Eve. Looking at Emma and Olivia, their faces glowing with pride at completing the puzzle, Jack made a silent promise. He would do everything in his power to ensure they never again felt abandoned or unloved. The rest of Christmas Day passed in a blur of activities, laughter and tender moments. Jack watched, amazed, as his mother, once so weak, now moved with renewed vigor, always smiling. That night, as he helped the twins settle into the guest room, Jack felt a lump in his throat. Emma hugged him tightly, whispering a thank you that carried the weight of all the cold, fearful nights they had endured. Lying in bed, Jack reflected on the astonishing events of the last 24 hours. He knew the coming challenges would be huge, legal, financial, and emotional. But hearing the girls' muffled giggles from the next room, and recalling the new light in his mother's eyes, Jack knew he had made the right choice. Somehow on that chilly Christmas Eve, he had saved not only 2 little girls but his own family as well. With that comforting thought, Jack finally fell asleep, dreaming of the possibilities the future now offered. One thing was certain: Life in the Thompson household would never be the same again. The days following Christmas were a whirlwind of emotions and activities for Jack. While trying to maintain his hospital routine, his mind constantly returned to Emma, Olivia, and the mysteries of their past. One cold afternoon, taking advantage of a day off, Jack decided to start investigating. Sitting at his computer, he hesitated before typing "abandoned twin girls" into the search bar. The results were discouraging. Dozens of similar cases, many unsolved. Determined, he refined his search, adding details the girls had shared: approximate age, physical description, the area where they were found. Then, a local newspaper article caught his eye. "Alcoholic mother loses custody of twin daughters," read a headline from 3 months ago. Jack felt a chill as he read the details. The description matched Emma and Olivia perfectly. The article described a tragic story of neglect. The mother, identified only as LM, had a long history of alcohol abuse. Neighbors reported shouting, crying, and on one occasion, the girls were found wandering alone late at night. Jack closed his eyes, feeling anger and compassion. How could anyone treat children this way? Yet he knew alcoholism was a cruel disease that destroyed families. "Jack?" Susan's voice pulled him from his thoughts. She stood in the office doorway, leaning on her cane but with a spark in her eyes he hadn't seen in years. "The girls are asking for you. We're about to start a board game." Jack smiled, trying to mask his worry. "I'm coming, Mum. Just finishing something here." Susan approached, looking over Jack's shoulder at the computer screen. Her face tightened at the sight of the article. "Oh, Jack, so that's it?" He nodded gravely. "It seems so. Mum, what are we doing? These girls have a story, a family. No matter how dysfunctional, we can't just abandon them again," Susan said firmly. "Jack, you've seen how happy they are here, how safe they feel. This isn't a coincidence. Maybe it's fate." Jack was about to argue when the doorbell rang. Trading a worried look with his mother, he went to answer it. On the doorstep stood a middle-aged woman with a serious expression and a clipboard in hand. "Good afternoon," she said. "I'm Sarah Jenkins from Child Protective Services. I'm here to talk about Emma and Olivia Thompson." Jack's heart raced. How did they know? Trying to stay calm, he invited Sarah inside. In the living room, Emma and Olivia sat on the floor, surrounded by board game pieces. At the sight of the stranger, their expressions shifted instantly from joy to fear. "Hello, girls," Sarah said gently. "Don't worry, I just want to talk to you for a bit." Jack felt a knot in his stomach. "Sarah, can we speak privately for a moment?" In the kitchen, Jack quickly explained how he had found the twins. Sarah listened attentively, her face composed and professional. "Mr. Thompson," she said when he finished, "I understand your good intentions, but what you did was highly irregular. These children should have been reported to the authorities immediately." "I know," Jack admitted, running a hand through his hair. "But it was Christmas Eve, and they were so scared. I couldn't just leave them out there." Sarah sighed. "I understand, but now we must follow the proper procedures. These girls have a mother who legally still holds rights." The mention of their mother made Jack's blood boil. A mother who abandoned them, who neglected them for years. "Even so," Sarah insisted, "there are protocols. The girls must be placed in temporary care while we investigate." At that moment, Susan entered the kitchen, leaning on her cane. "With all due respect, Miss Jenkins, these girls already have a home. Right here." Sarah looked from Susan to Jack, her expression softening slightly. "Mrs. Thompson, I understand your attachment to these children, but—" "No, you don't understand," Susan interrupted, a surprising strength in her voice. "Since these girls arrived, this house has regained its life. They brought light, joy, hope. Can't you see? They belong here." Jack observed the social worker, seeing the internal struggle in her eyes. Finally, Sarah spoke. "I can't promise anything, but maybe we can consider you as a temporary foster placement while we investigate. This will require a lot of paperwork, regular visits, and there's no guarantee you'll keep them long term." The relief Jack felt was almost tangible. "We'll do whatever it takes," he promised. After a long conversation and a brief talk with Emma and Olivia, Sarah left, promising to keep in touch. The atmosphere in the house remained tense. The girls looked at Jack and Susan with fearful eyes, clearly afraid they would be taken away. Jack knelt before them, holding their small hands. "Emma, Olivia, I want you to know something. No matter what happens, I'll fight for you. You're part of this family now." The tears in the girls' eyes and their tight hug said more than any words could convey. That night, after the twins were asleep, Jack stayed awake, his mind full of worries and plans. He knew the road ahead would be hard. Legal, emotional, and financial challenges loomed. But thinking of Emma's smile, Olivia's laughter, and the spark in his mother's eyes, Jack knew it would be worth it. He would do whatever it took to keep this new family together. With that firm resolve in his heart, Jack finally fell asleep, dreaming of a future where Emma and Olivia could truly call this house home. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but for the first time in a long time, Jack was eager to face them. The sun had barely risen when Jack woke up, his mind churning with thoughts and responsibilities. The visit from Sarah Jenkins had made it all very real. He had a crucial decision to make, and its weight pressed on him. Downstairs, he found his mother, Susan, already awake, sitting at the kitchen table with a cup of tea. Their eyes met, and without words, both understood the gravity of the situation. "You didn't sleep well, did you?" Susan asked softly. Jack shook his head, pouring himself coffee. "How could I, Mum? What are we going to do?" Susan set down her cup. "Jack, you know what we have to do. These girls belong here. We can't just hand them over to the system." "But what if we're wrong?" Jack argued, doubt in his voice. "What if someone's looking for them? What if—" His words were interrupted by a small sound at the kitchen door. Emma and Olivia stood there in pajamas, their big eyes filled with fear and uncertainty. You're not sending us away, are you?" Olivia asked, voice trembling. Jack's heart broke. He knelt down, opening his arms, and the girls rushed to him, burying their faces in his chest. "No, sweethearts," he whispered, voice choked. "We're not sending you away, never." Susan joined the hug, her eyes shining with tears not yet shed. "You're our family now," she said firmly. After a comforting breakfast, Jack decided it was time for a serious conversation with the twins. They gathered in the living room, the heart of the house in recent weeks. "Emma, Olivia," Jack began gently, "we need to talk about what happened before you came here. I know it's hard, but it's important. Can you tell us more about your mom?" The twins exchanged nervous looks. Emma spoke first, her voice small but steady. "Mom, she wasn't always bad. Sometimes she was really nice. Took us to the park, told us stories. But then she'd drink," Olivia finished, eyes downcast. "And she changed. She yelled a lot. Sometimes she forgot to feed us." Jack felt anger and compassion surge within him. "And the night I found you?" Emma sniffled, tears rolling down her cheeks. "Mom had drunk a lot. She said she needed to go out, that she'd be right back. But it was so cold, and she never came back." Susan, who had remained silent, could not hold back a sob. She pulled the twins closer, holding them tightly. Jack stood, walking to the window. His mind worked furiously. What he was considering might be risky, even illegal, but seeing his mother hugging the twins, he knew he had no choice. "I'm going to fight for you," he said, turning to face his family. "I'll do everything I can to keep you safe and loved." The next few hours were a whirlwind of activity. Jack made calls, researched online, and even scheduled a consultation with a family law attorney. "Jack," Susan called as he typed furiously, "are you sure about this? It's going to be a tough battle." He paused, looking at his mother. "Mom, remember when I was a kid, how hard it was, just the two of us?" Susan nodded, her eyes filling with memories. "You fought for me," Jack continued, "against all odds. Now it's my turn to fight for someone else." Susan smiled, proud and concerned. "I know, dear. And I'm with you 100%. As the afternoon wore on, Jack began outlining a plan. He'd need to prove they could offer stability and love. This might mean changes, maybe even changing his career to have more flexible hours. While Jack worked, Susan spent the day with the girls, helping them catch up on missed schoolwork and planning how to rearrange the house to accommodate them permanently. That night, after the twins were asleep, Jack shared his plan with Susan. "I'll ask for extended leave from the hospital," he explained. "We'll use that time to prepare for the legal fight. I'll take parenting courses, adapt the house, do whatever it takes to prove we're their best option." Susan listened, nodding. "And what about their mother?" Jack sighed heavily. "I'll try to find her. If she truly wants to recover, maybe we can reach some kind of agreement. If not," he let the thought hang in the air. "It'll be hard," Susan warned. "Financially, emotionally, I know," Jack replied. "But look at you, Mom. Since the girls arrived, you've been stronger, more alive. They saved us as much as we saved them." Susan smiled, tears shining in her eyes. "You're right. They are our second chance, aren't they?" Jack nodded, feeling determined yet fearful. He knew the path would be filled with legal and emotional obstacles, but looking at the family photo they'd taken at Christmas, him, Susan, Emma, and Olivia smiling by the tree, he knew it was worth it. "Tomorrow," Jack said, voice firm, "we start fighting for our family." Susan squeezed his hand, sealing a silent pact. They would do whatever it took to keep Emma and Olivia safe, loved, and at home. While the house slept, Jack stayed awake, planning and dreaming. The future was uncertain, but now filled with hope. With Emma and Olivia, they were no longer just survivors. They were a complete family ready to face whatever fate brought. Dawn found Jack already up, determined to investigate Emma and Olivia's past. With a strong cup of coffee, he headed to the hospital earlier than usual, his mind focused on the task. In the emergency department hallway, Jack spotted Dr. Melissa Chen, a longtime colleague and the department head. Taking a deep breath, he approached her. "Melissa, I need your help," Jack began, voice low and urgent. He explained the twins' situation briefly, omitting potentially incriminating details. Melissa listened, concerned and understanding. "Jack, this is complicated. You know I can't just access confidential records." "I know," Jack said, frustration evident. "But these girls, they need help. I need to know what happened to them." After a moment's hesitation, Melissa sighed. "I can't promise anything, but I'll see what I can find. No names, no specifics, just patterns, okay?" Jack nodded, grateful. "Thank you, Melissa. That's all I ask." The following hours were a blur of work and anxiety. While treating patients, Jack's mind kept returning to Emma and Olivia and the secrets of their past. Late in his shift, Melissa called him to her office, her face grave. "Jack, I found something, and it's not pretty." She slid a file across the desk. "Over the last 3 years, we've treated twin girls multiple times. Always the same pattern: mild malnutrition, unexplained bruises, sometimes cigarette burns." Jack's stomach churned. He flipped through the anonymous medical reports with trembling hands. "The mother?" he asked, voice hoarse. Melissa shook her head sadly. "Always the same story. Clear signs of chronic alcoholism. Different men each time, presumably partners." Jack closed his eyes, anger and resolve growing inside him. "Thank you, Melissa. This helps." Leaving the hospital, Jack barely noticed the light rain. His mind brimmed with horrific images: Emma and Olivia, frightened and alone, neglected and abused. Arriving home, Jack found a surprise. Sarah Jenkins, the social worker, sat in the living room chatting cheerfully with Susan and the girls. "Mr. Thompson," Sarah greeted, standing up. "I hope you don't mind my unannounced visit. I felt we needed to talk." Jack nodded, hiding his apprehension. "Of course, Sarah. We can talk in the office." Once alone, Sarah got straight to the point. "Jack, I've done some digging too. I'm very concerned about what could happen if the girls return to their biological mother." Jack felt relief and surprise. You're on our side." Sarah sighed, running a hand through her hair. "Officially, I'm neutral. But off the record, yes, I'm on the girls' side. And from what I've seen here, you and Susan are the best thing that's happened to them in a long time." Over the next few minutes, Jack and Sarah exchanged information. He shared what Melissa discovered, and Sarah revealed details from her own investigation. The mother, Lisa Morrison, has a long record with social services, Sarah said. Multiple reports of neglect or suspected abuse, but she always slipped through the cracks. Jack clenched his fists, anger rising. How could no one protect these girls? Sarah shook her head sadly. The system is flawed, Jack. Overwhelmed, underfunded. Cases like Emma and Olivia's happen more often than we'd like to admit. They fell silent, the weight of the situation pressing down on them. What can we do? Jack finally asked, determined. Sarah leaned forward, eyes shining with compassion and resolve. We need to build a solid case, prove that you and Susan can offer a stable, loving home. Most importantly, show that returning to their mother would harm them. Jack nodded, already thinking of possibilities. And Lisa? Will she fight for custody? That's the problem, Sarah said. Right now, we don't know where she is. She disappeared after abandoning the girls. For the next hour, Jack and Sarah strategized and discussed next steps. When they finished, Jack felt both exhausted and energized. In the living room, Emma and Olivia worked on a puzzle, while Susan watched with a gentle smile. The domestic scene was so ordinary that Jack's heart ached. These girls deserved this. Stability, love, security. After Sarah left, promising close contact, Jack joined his family. The twins eyed him with curiosity and apprehension. Is everything all right? Olivia asked timidly. Jack smiled, sitting on the floor beside them. Yes, sweetheart. Actually, I'd like to talk with both of you about something important. Emma and Olivia exchanged nervous glances but drew closer to Jack. Remember when I asked about your mom? Jack began softly. The girls nodded. I've been trying to learn more about what happened to you so I can help. You talked to Mum? Emma asked, her voice trembling slightly. Jack shook his head. No, not yet, but I've discovered some things about your past. Things that must have been very hard and scary. Tears welled in the twins' eyes. Jack's heart twisted. I want you to know, he said, voice thick with emotion. None of what happened was your fault. You're amazing, strong, and brave. I promise I'll do everything I can so you never have to go through that again. Olivia was the first to throw herself into Jack's arms, Emma following quickly. They cried silently, releasing years of fear and pain into the safety of his embrace. Susan, who had watched quietly, joined the hug, wrapping all of them in her arms. At that moment, holding the girls and feeling Susan's support, Jack knew he was doing the right thing. The path ahead would be tough, filled with legal and emotional battles and the specter of their painful past. Later that night, after the twins had gone to bed, Jack sat with Susan and told her everything he'd discovered. My God, Susan whispered, tears streaming down her face. Those poor children. How could anyone? Jack took his mother's hand. I know. But now they have us, and we'll do everything we can to give them the future they deserve. Susan nodded, determination shining in her eyes. Yes, we will. These girls are ours now, Jack, and no one will take them away. As the night wore on, Jack stayed awake, mind racing with plans and worries. He knew the coming days would be challenging, legal battles, emotional complexities, and possibly confronting the girls' dark past. But listening to Emma and Olivia's soft breathing through the wall and recalling the light in Susan's eyes, Jack was more determined than ever to secure their future. With that comforting resolve, Jack finally drifted off, dreaming of better days for his new family. Evening had fallen over the Thompson home, the long shadows stretching across the floor. Jack sat in his office, a stack of documents before him, photos, medical records, school reports, pieces of Emma and Olivia's lives he'd gathered in recent weeks. His eyes fell on a particularly haunting photograph. The twins, about 4 years old, shy smiles on their faces at some school event, balloons in the background. Jack noticed faint bruises on their arms, barely concealed. Closing his eyes, Jack imagined the girl's painful past, images forming vividly in his mind. Emma crouching in a kitchen corner, holding Olivia tight. The sound of breaking glass, drunken screams echoing. Where are you, you worthless brats? Their mother's slurred voice cutting through the silence. Shh! Emma whispered to Olivia, feeling her sister's silent sobs. "It's okay. She'll pass out soon." More crashing sounds, more curses. The twins, only 5, knew the routine. Wait, stay quiet, survive. Hours later, silence. Emma dared to emerge. Lisa, their mother, lay passed out on the couch, an empty bottle on the floor. Carefully, they covered her with a blanket. "Good night, Mommy," Olivia murmured, voice a mix of fear and unmet love. Jack opened his eyes, hot tears running down his cheeks. He could almost feel Emma and Olivia's fear and vulnerability. Wiping his face, he looked at another document, a social worker's report. His eyes widened at the name, Lisa Morrison. "It can't be," Jack muttered, heart pounding. Memories of his own youth flooded his mind. Lisa Morrison, the rebellious girl from high school. Beautiful, charismatic, but troubled. Everyone sensed it, but no one dared speak it. Jack remembered one particular night, a graduation party decades ago. The air smelled of cheap beer and cigarettes. Jack, then 18, watched Lisa from afar. She laughed loudly, a bottle in hand, flirting shamelessly with older guys. "Hey, Jack," Lisa shouted, beckoning him over. "Come join the fun." Jack hesitated. He'd always had a crush on her, but something felt off that night. The feverish shine in her eyes, her unsteady steps. "Come on, don't be a coward," Lisa teased, spilling her drink as she gestured. Before Jack could answer, an older guy grabbed Lisa by the waist. "Forget the kid, honey. Let's have some real fun." Jack watched, frozen, as Lisa was led away, laughing hysterically. Something inside him screamed to intervene, but fear paralyzed him. The next morning, rumors spread. Lisa had been found unconscious in a field, signs of abuse evident. Jack never forgave himself for doing nothing that night. Returning to the present, Jack felt nausea rise. Lisa Morrison, Emma and Olivia's mother, the girl he failed to help years ago. "Jack," Susan's voice pulled him back. She stood at the office door, worry on her face. "Are you all right? You look pale." Jack took a deep breath, steadying himself. "Mom, do you remember Lisa Morrison?" Susan's face paled. "Lisa? From your high school?" "Oh, Jack, don't tell me." He nodded gravely. "It's her, Emma and Olivia's mother." Susan sank into a chair, hand trembling over her mouth. "Oh my God, that poor girl. I always wondered what happened to her after that terrible night." Jack looked at his mother, surprised. "You knew about that night?" Susan nodded sadly. "Jack, I never told you, but I knew you were fascinated by Lisa back then. After that night when you were so shaken, I decided we needed to move, to give you a fresh start." The revelation hit Jack like a punch. "Mom, I know, dear," Susan interrupted gently. "But you were young, impressionable, and I was scared you might follow that path." Jack processed this new information silently, all these years, and he never knew the real reason behind their sudden move after high school. "Jack," Susan continued softly, "you can't blame yourself for what happened to Lisa, or for Emma and Olivia's situation. You were just a boy." "But I should have done something," Jack argued, voice heavy with guilt. "If I had stepped in, maybe things would be different for Lisa, for the girls." Susan approached, placing a comforting hand on his shoulder. "We can't change the past, dear, but we can make a difference now. And that's what you're doing for Emma and Olivia." Her words offered some comfort, but Jack still felt tormented. What if he wasn't good enough for the twins? What if he failed them, as he failed Lisa? Reading his mind, Susan said, "Jack, look at me. You're not that 18-year-old boy anymore. You've grown into a compassionate, strong man. Emma and Olivia are lucky to have you." At that moment, a muffled cry came from the girls' room. Jack and Susan exchanged alarmed looks and rushed upstairs. Emma sat up in bed, tears streaking her face, Olivia holding her tight, trying to calm her. "Nightmare," Olivia explained softly as Jack and Susan entered the room. Jack approached carefully, sitting on the edge of the bed. "It's okay, Emma, you're safe here." Emma looked at him, eyes full of fear and confusion. I I dreamed about Mom. She was yelling, breaking things. I miss her, but I'm also scared. Is that wrong?" Jack's heart broke. He pulled Emma into a hug, feeling Olivia join in. "No, sweetheart, it's not wrong. Your feelings are complicated, and that's okay." Susan joined them, wrapping them all in her arms. "You are loved here," she said gently. "No matter what happens, you always have a home with us." As he comforted the twins, Jack felt a swirl of emotions: guilt for the past, Maya's fear of the future, and overwhelming love for these two girls who had unexpectedly entered his life. Hours later, with Emma and Olivia asleep again, Jack returned to his office. Staring at the scattered documents, he made a decision. Picking up his phone, he dialed a number he had memorized in recent weeks. "Sarah, it's Jack Thompson. Sorry to call so late, but I think I've discovered something important about the girls' past and my own." Explaining the situation to Sarah, Jack felt a weight lifting. He couldn't change what happened with Lisa or the girls' past, but he could ensure a better future. Perhaps by saving Emma and Olivia, he could also find redemption for his past inaction. When he finally hung up, the sun was rising, bathing the world in gold. A new day full of challenges and hope. Jack looked at a recent photo of Emma and Olivia, smiling between him and Susan. No matter what the future held, he would protect them, even if it meant facing his own ghosts. With that firm resolution, Jack allowed himself to rest, knowing the true battle was just beginning. The shrill ring of the phone cut through the morning silence, startling Jack awake in his office chair. He had dozed off among papers and photos. Shaking off sleep, he answered, "Jack, it's Sarah. We have a problem." The social worker's voice was tense, urgent. Sleep vanished instantly. "What happened?" "Lisa Morrison. She showed up at my office this morning, demanding to know where her daughters are. Jack, she's sober, and she has a lawyer." The world seemed to slow down. How did she find out?" "I'm not sure, but she's determined. She wants the girls back, and legally she still has rights." Jack's panic rose. "What do we do now?" "Gather Susan and the girls. I'll be there in an hour. We need a plan." Hanging up, Jack ran to wake Susan and the twins. In minutes, they sat in the living room, faces anxious. Emma spoke first, voice trembling. "It's about Mom, isn't it?" Jack nodded gravely, sitting between them. "Yes, sweetheart. Your mother wants to see you." Olivia clung to Jack's hand, eyes wide. "Do we have to go with her?" "Not if I can help it," Jack replied firmly, pulling them closer. "You're part of this family now. We'll fight for you." Susan, who had been silent, finally asked, "Jack, what can we do legally?" Before he could answer, the doorbell rang. Sarah entered, carrying a thick folder. The following minutes were a flurry of information and strategy. Sarah explained the legal situation, options, and possible outcomes. "The fact is," Sarah concluded, "Lisa has a strong argument. She's the biological mother, sober now, and never officially lost her rights." Jack felt his heart sink. "But what about the history of abuse, neglect?" Sarah sighed. "The system often favors family reunification. We have to prove beyond doubt that returning to Lisa would endanger the girls." They spent hours drafting a plan. They'd compile all medical records, neighbor testimonies, and school reports. Anything to show Lisa's pattern of neglect. While the adults discussed, Emma and Olivia huddled on the couch, pale with fear. Suddenly, the screech of tires outside made everyone freeze. Jack rushed to the window, heart pounding at the sight of an unfamiliar car parking out front. "It's her," he whispered. Tension filled the house as the doorbell rang. Jack exchanged a glance with Sarah before opening. Lisa Morrison stood on the porch, an older, worn version of the girl he remembered. Her eyes, once vibrant, now revealed years of struggle, yet determination burned in them. "Where are my daughters, Jack?" she demanded, voice rough. Jack blocked the entrance, body tense. "Lisa, not like this. There are legal procedures." "To hell with that," Lisa shouted, trying to push past Jack. "They're my daughters. You have no right." "I have every right to protect them," Jack retorted, raising his voice. "Where were you when they were hungry, cold, and scared?" Lisa recoiled as if slapped. For a moment, Jack saw shame flicker in her eyes, quickly replaced by anger. "You know nothing about me, about our life," she hissed. "I'm sober now. I can care for my daughters." "Mommy." Emma's small voice made both adults turn. The twins stood in the living room doorway, eyes wide with fear and confusion. Susan was behind them, a protective hand on each shoulder. Lisa gasped, tears shining in her eyes. "My girls, oh, how I've missed you." She took a step forward, but Jack blocked her path. "Not like this, Lisa. Not this way." For a tense moment, Jack feared Lisa might try to force her way in. But then her shoulders sagged, and she stepped back. "Fine," she said, voice trembling. "But this isn't over, Jack. I'll get my daughters back, even if it's the last thing I do." With a final anguished look at Emma and Olivia, Lisa returned to her car. Jack closed the door, feeling drained. He turned to see the twins running toward him, tears streaming. "You're not sending us back, right?" Olivia sobbed, clinging to his shirt. Jack knelt, hugging them both fiercely. "Never," he vowed. "You're our family now. We'll fight for you, no matter what." Sarah, who had observed silently, finally spoke. "This complicates things. Lisa is clearly determined. We need to move fast." In the following days, the Thompson home became a hive of legal activity. Jack took extended leave from the hospital, dedicating himself to building a case. Susan, despite her health, found renewed strength, caring for the girls and helping with paperwork when possible. Emma and Olivia swung between moments of joy with their new family and bouts of fear and confusion. Nightmares became frequent, and both girls often woke crying for Jack or Susan. A week after Lisa's visit, Sarah arrived with somber news. "Lisa filed a formal custody claim," Sarah said, voice heavy. "We have a preliminary hearing next week." Jack felt the weight of the world on his shoulders. "What are our chances?" Sarah hesitated. "Honestly, it's hard to say. Lisa has the advantage of being the biological mother, claiming sobriety and wanting to reunite. But we have strong evidence of past neglect." That night, after the girls were asleep, Jack found Susan in the kitchen, silent tears on her cheeks. "Mom," he called softly. Susan turned, trying to hide her tears. "Oh, Jack, I just can't bear the thought of losing these girls. They brought so much life and joy." Jack hugged his mother, feeling his own tears threaten. "I know, Mom, I know, but we won't give up, not for a second." The next morning, as he made breakfast, Jack heard a sound that stopped his heart. Laughter. Emma and Olivia were laughing, a pure, carefree sound he rarely heard. Peeking into the living room, he saw the twins playing with Susan, all three immersed in an imaginary game. In that moment, Jack felt a fierce determination. This was what they were fighting for, not just physical safety, but happiness, a normal childhood. Picking up his phone, he dialed Sarah's number. "Sarah, it's Jack. Listen, I've been thinking. What if we try a different approach? Instead of fighting Lisa, what if we work with her?" Silence on the other end. "What do you mean, Jack?" "What if we offer shared custody?" Jack suggested. "Lisa could have supervised visits while continuing her treatment. I know it's a long shot." "Actually," Sarah interrupted, hope in her voice, "that might work. If Lisa agrees, it could be the best outcome. The court often prefers family reunification when safe." They discussed details, and Jack felt a spark of hope. It would still be challenging, but maybe there was a compromise that served everyone. Watching Emma and Olivia play, Jack knew he had to try. They deserved a stable home, but also the chance to know their mother, if she could truly recover. The legal battle was just beginning, but for the first time in days, Jack felt they had a real chance. The county courthouse was packed on that Monday morning. Jack adjusted his tie nervously as he, Susan, and the girls entered the imposing courtroom. Tension and anticipation hung in the air. Sarah met them at the entrance. "Remember," she whispered, "stay calm no matter what happens. We're here for the girls." Jack nodded, throat dry. He saw Lisa enter from the other side, accompanied by her lawyer. She looked different, tidier, more composed, but tense. "All rise," announced the bailiff. "Court is in session, Judge Eleanor Hawkins presiding." Judge Hawkins, a middle-aged woman with keen eyes, took her seat. "We're here for the custody case of Emma and Olivia Morrison. Mr. Thompson, you're petitioning for custody, correct?" "Yes, Your Honor," Jack replied, voice steady. "Miss Morrison, you contest this request." Lisa stood. "Yes, ma'am. They're my daughters. I made mistakes, miss, but I'm sober now. I can take care of them." The judge nodded. "Very well. Let's hear the evidence." The hours that followed were an emotional roller coaster. Jack's lawyer presented a detailed timeline, backed by medical reports and school records, painting a childhood of neglect and fear. Dr. Melissa Chen testified first. Over 3 years, Emma and Olivia visited the ER multiple times. Malnutrition, unexplained bruises, even cigarette burns. Lisa sobbed, face in her hands. A former neighbor spoke. "We heard screams almost every night. Sometimes the girls were in the hallway, frightened." Lisa's defense countered with certificates from rehab, AA sponsors, and proof of sobriety. "My client is committed to recovery. She deserves a chance to be a mother again." The most tense moment came when Dr. Rachel Foster, a child psychologist, took the stand. "Emma and Olivia show clear signs of trauma," she said. "They fear separation from each other and from Jack and Susan Thompson. Mentioning their biological mother triggers acute anxiety." Dr. Foster paused, looking at the judge. "Removing them from their stable environment would be deeply harmful." A murmur rippled through the courtroom. Jack felt relief mixed with guilt at Lisa's stricken face. During a recess, Jack noticed whispering groups in the corridors. Some supported him. Others argued Lisa deserved a second chance. "Jack," a familiar voice called. It was Tom, a colleague from the hospital. "We're rooting for you. Those girls deserve a stable home." Before Jack could respond, a woman approached, disapproving. "How can you keep children from their own mother? She's trying to improve." Sarah quickly guided Jack away from the confrontation. Back in the courtroom, Judge Hawkins interviewed Emma and Olivia privately. Minutes felt like hours for Jack and Lisa. When the twins returned, eyes red, a calm resolve showed on their faces. The judge followed, expression grave. "I've heard all the evidence," Judge Hawkins began. "This is complex and emotional. No easy decision exists." Jack felt Susan squeeze his hand. Across the room, Lisa held her breath. "Emma and Olivia clearly wish to remain with the Thompsons," the judge continued. "But I acknowledge Ms. Morrison's efforts to rehabilitate." She paused, scanning both parties. "My decision. Primary custody goes to Jack and Susan Thompson, with supervised visitation rights for Lisa Morrison, potentially expanding over time if sobriety and stability continue." A collective sigh filled the room. Jack felt such relief he almost buckled. Susan wept quietly. Lisa looked torn between relief and sorrow. "Can I see them?" she asked, voice trembling. The judge nodded. "Yes, Ms. Morrison. The arrangement ensures the girls' well-being and gives you a path to rebuild your relationship." As the hearing ended, Jack found himself face to face with Lisa in the corridor. "Jack," she said softly, "take good care of them. And thank you for not shutting me out completely." He nodded, emotions swirling. "They deserve every chance at happiness, including having you in their lives when you're ready." Exiting the courthouse with Emma and Olivia, a small crowd awaited, offering support. Neighbors, colleagues, even teachers had come. "We're so happy for you. Those girls are lucky." Voices overlapped in a chorus of encouragement. Emma looked up at Jack, tears shining. "Can we go home now?" Jack's heart brimmed with love. "Yes, sweetheart, let's go home." As they walked to the car, Jack reflected on the journey. What began as a kind act on a cold Christmas Eve had grown into something bigger. They were a family, not by blood, but by love. The path ahead still held challenges. Adjustments, therapy, Lisa's visits. But Susan's radiant smile and the twins' excited chatter reassured him. Under the golden pink sunset, Jack felt peace. This wasn't the end of the story, but the start of a new chapter filled with hope and infinite possibilities. The courthouse was tense that morning, everyone anxious for the final hearing to confirm their custody arrangement. Jack, Susan, Lisa, and the twins waited quietly. Judge Hawkins entered, stern and calm. Before we proceed, I'd like to hear from Ms. Morrison. Lisa, please tell us about your relationship with your daughters and your current situation. Lisa stood, hands trembling, and looked at her lawyer, who nodded encouragingly. I love my daughters, she began, voice faltering. I made terrible mistakes, hurt them deeply. Silence fell as Lisa continued, voice gaining strength. Alcoholism is a terrible disease. It robs you of dignity, judgment, the ability to love properly. I wasn't the mother Emma and Olivia deserved. Tears rolled down Lisa's cheeks, but she didn't wipe them away. There were nights I left them hungry, days I screamed for no reason, moments I don't even remember but know frightened them terribly. Lisa looked at Jack and Susan, her eyes pleading. When I left them that night, I thought they'd be better off without me. Suddenly, Lisa's legs buckled, and she sank to her knees, sobbing uncontrollably. I'm so sorry. So sorry. Gasps filled the courtroom. Judge Hawkins called for order, her own eyes reflecting compassion. To everyone's surprise, Jack approached Lisa and knelt beside her, placing a gentle hand on her shoulder. Lisa, he said softly. Breathe. Lisa looked at him, stunned. How can you be so kind after what I've done? Jack took a steadying breath. Because I understand the struggle. And I know that deep down you love Emma and Olivia as much as we do. Susan stepped forward, voice trembling but calm. Lisa, I have a story to share. The courtroom, usually a place of formalities, became a space of vulnerability and connection. Susan began. Years ago, I also struggled with addiction. Not alcohol, but pills. After Jack's father died, I was lost. Some days I couldn't even get out of bed, leaving Jack, just a boy, to fend for himself. Jack looked at his mother, surprised. He knew her struggles, but never heard her speak so openly. What saved me, Susan continued, was Jack's unconditional love and the support of those who refused to give up on me. Lisa, you don't have to walk this path alone. Lisa stared at Susan, shocked and hopeful. You overcame it. Susan nodded, smiling through tears, day by day, with help and love. And look at us now. Judge Hawkins, visibly moved, intervened. I believe we are witnessing something extraordinary. Mr. Thompson, Mrs. Thompson, are you offering support to Ms. Morrison? Jack got up slowly, helping Lisa to stand. Your Honor, I think we all want the same thing. What's best for Emma and Olivia? Maybe this doesn't have to be a fight where one side loses everything. A murmur of surprise ran through the room. Jack continued, what if instead of fighting each other, we work together? Lisa clearly loves her daughters and is committed to her recovery. We can find common ground. Judge Hawkins leaned forward, intrigued. What exactly do you propose, Mr. Thompson? Jack looked at Susan, who nodded encouragingly, then at Lisa, watching him with a mix of fear and hope. I propose shared custody, Jack said firmly. Emma and Olivia remain with us as their primary guardians, ensuring stability. But Lisa can have regular, supervised visits that can increase as she maintains her sobriety. Lisa gasped, tears fresh in her eyes. You do that? Jack nodded. With conditions, of course. Ongoing treatment, sobriety tests, therapy. It won't be easy, Lisa. But if you're truly committed, I am, Lisa interrupted, her voice stronger. I'll do anything for my daughters, anything to make it right. Judge Hawkins looked at both attorneys. This is unusual, but not unprecedented. If all parties agree, we can draft an arrangement that meets everyone's needs, especially the children's. In the hours that followed, lawyers, social workers, and the family worked together to craft a detailed plan. When Emma and Olivia were brought back into the courtroom to hear the outcome, they looked surprised to see Lisa sitting beside Jack and Susan, all wearing determined, hopeful expressions. Girls, Jack began softly, we have something important to tell you. He explained the new arrangement. They would live with him and Susan, but Lisa would visit regularly, at first supervised, then gradually more freely if she kept improving. Emma and Olivia listened, exchanging glances. When he finished, there was a long silence. Finally, Olivia asked hesitantly. So, we stay with you, but we can see Mom sometimes. Lisa leaned forward, tears in her eyes. Only if you want to, my loves. I know I hurt you, and I'll spend my life making it up to you. But I promise I'm getting better, and I love you more than anything. Emma, always the braver twin, took a small step toward her mother. You promise not to drink anymore. Lisa nodded solemnly, tears flowing freely. I promise, sweetheart. I'm doing everything I can to get better. For you. What followed was a hesitant but deeply emotional embrace. Jack, Susan, and everyone present watched with misty eyes as a broken family took its first step toward healing. By the end of the day, as everyone left the courthouse, a palpable sense of hope filled the air. It would be hard, there would be setbacks and challenges, but for the first time, it felt like they were all on the same team. Walking under the evening sky, Jack glanced at Lisa walking beside them, Emma and Olivia between them, holding hands. One day at a time, he said softly. Lisa nodded, a small, hopeful smile on her lips. One day at a time. The courthouse was tense again that morning, everyone awaiting the final confirmation of the innovative custody arrangement. Jack, Susan, Lisa, and the girls sat together this time, a united front. Judge Hawkins entered, her gaze thoughtful. We're here to finalize the custody case of Emma and Olivia Morrison. Before I make my decision, is there anything else? Her words were interrupted by the sound of the doors swinging open. A tall, middle-aged man with graying hair and intense blue eyes hurried inside. Your Honor, I need to speak, the man said, voice echoing in the silent room. The judge frowned. Sir, this is a closed hearing. Who are you? The man straightened, eyes fixing on Emma and Olivia. My name is Robert Pearson. I'm the girl's biological father. Shocked whispers filled the courtroom. Jack felt the ground vanish beneath him. Lisa went pale. Judge Hawkins banged her gavel for order. Mr. Pearson, this is a serious claim. Do you have proof? Robert approached the bench, handing over a folder. I have DNA test results, Your Honor. I only learned about the girls 2 weeks ago. As the judge examined the documents, Jack watched Emma and Olivia, who clung to each other, confused and scared. Everything seems in order, Mr. Pearson, the judge said. But why appear now? Robert ran a hand through his hair, anxious. I never knew they existed. Lisa and I had a brief relationship years ago. When I saw a news piece about this case, I got the DNA test. I had no idea. Lisa stood, voice trembling. Robert, I couldn't find you when I found out I was pregnant. You'd left town. The room buzzed with whispered conversations. Jack felt numb. Everything they'd built could collapse. Silence, Judge Hawkins commanded. This is unexpected. Mr. Pearson, what do you intend? Robert looked at Emma and Olivia. I want to take responsibility. I know I'm late, but they're my daughters. I want to be part of their lives. Jack couldn't contain his frustration. With respect, Your Honor, we've spent months finding a solution that benefits everyone. Now a stranger appears out of nowhere. Mr. Thompson, the judge cautioned, I understand your frustration, but Mr. Pearson has rights as the biological father. What about the girls' rights? Susan intervened, voice full of emotion. They've already suffered so much uncertainty. Judge Hawkins looked at the frightened twins. In light of this new information, I can't finalize a decision today. Let's adjourn for 2 weeks. Meanwhile, Mr. Pearson will undergo psychological and background evaluations. She turned to Jack and Susan. The girls remain in your care for now, Mr. Pearson. You may have supervised visits if the children agree. Robert nodded, eyes never leaving Emma and Olivia. Thank you, Your Honor. I just want to know them. As the session ended, Robert approached timidly. Emma and Olivia hid behind Jack and Susan. Hi, Robert said softly. I know this is a surprise. I don't want to scare you. I just wanted to see you. Emma stepped forward. You're our dad, Robert nodded, tears in his eyes. Yes. I'm sorry I wasn't here before, but I'm here now, if you'll give me a chance. Jack's heart clenched. He couldn't deny the girls a chance to know their father, but fear gripped him. Outside, Jack pulled Susan aside. What do we do now? Susan squeezed his hand. What we've always done. Put the girls first. Maybe there's room in their hearts for more than one kind of family. Jack nodded, watching Emma and Olivia whispering to each other, their small faces anxious yet curious. The next 2 weeks tested everyone's patience and resolve. The girls deserved stability, but now Lisa and Robert both wanted roles in their lives. Could they all find balance? With a deep sigh, Jack prepared himself for another twist in their already complex journey. He would face whatever came next for the girls' sake. The corner cafe was nearly empty that Sunday afternoon. Jack, Susan, Lisa, and Robert sat around a table, untouched coffees before them. Silence weighed heavy with unspoken fears and hopes. Finally, Jack broke the silence. We're all here for Emma and Olivia. We need to find a way. Lisa nodded, voice trembling. I know I messed up, but I'm committed to my recovery and being part of their lives. Robert spoke next. I know I'm new to them, but since learning I have daughters, I can't think of anything else. I want to know them, to be a good father. Jack's fear and jealousy flared, but he pushed it down. Robert, you must understand they've suffered a lot. They need stability most of all. I know, Robert said, voice heavy. I'm willing to go at their pace. I don't want to disrupt what you've built here. Susan, who had been quiet, leaned forward. What if we stop thinking in terms of us versus them and think about creating a bigger family? Everyone turned to her, surprised. I mean, Susan continued, voice gaining confidence, why not work together? Jack and I remain primary caregivers. Lisa keeps her visits, increasing as she maintains sobriety. Robert can be introduced slowly, with supervised visits at first. A contemplative silence followed. Lisa said slowly, This could work. The girls get stability and a chance to know all of us. Robert nodded, a small smile forming. I'd support that. I just want the chance to be in their lives. Jack looked at Susan, gratitude and love for his mother surging. She was always the peacemaker. It's a wonderful idea, Mom, but the final decision rests with Emma and Olivia. Everyone agreed. Jack called the neighbor who was babysitting the girls. Soon, the twins arrived, curious and a bit frightened. Girls, Jack said gently, pulling them close, we have something important to discuss. He explained the idea. They'd stay with him and Susan, but also see Lisa regularly and, if they wanted, meet Robert gradually. Emma and Olivia listened, occasionally looking at each other. When he finished, a tense silence followed. Finally, Olivia spoke softly. We can still live with you and Susan. Of course, dear, Susan said immediately. This will always be your home. Emma looked at Lisa and Robert. And we can get to know you better, without leaving here. Lisa nodded, tears slipping down her face. Yes, sweetheart, at your pace, your comfort. We'll wait until you're ready. Robert knelt down to their level. I know I'm a stranger to you, but I'm here now. I want to be part of your lives, if you let me. The twins exchanged one of their silent twin looks. Finally, Emma said, We'd like that, a big family. The relief and joy at the table were palpable. Jack pulled the girls into a tight hug. Susan joined, and Lisa and Robert watched emotionally until Olivia invited them into the group hug. In the following days, they worked out a detailed plan. They set visitation schedules, agreed on therapy sessions, and planned group activities to get everyone comfortable. On the morning of the final hearing, they entered the courtroom not as adversaries, but as allies. Judge Hawkins listened, impressed. In all my years, I've rarely seen such a diverse group come together so beautifully for the children's sake, she said. With minor adjustments, the plan was approved. As they left the courthouse, Emma and Olivia walked hand in hand, flanked by Jack, Chan, Susan, Lisa, and Robert. You know, Emma said, looking up with a grin, I think we have the biggest and best family in the world. Jack's heart overflowed. There would still be challenges, visits, therapy, financial strains, but looking at this loving, unconventional family, he knew they could face anything. As the sun set, painting the sky gold and pink, Jack felt at peace. Not the end, but a new chapter, filled with love, understanding, and infinite possibilities. The courtroom was silent as Judge Hawkins reviewed the final documents. Jack, Susan, Lisa, Robert, Emma, and Olivia waited, hands intertwined. Finally, the judge looked up, smiling softly. In all my years, I've never seen such a remarkable display of cooperation. It's with great pleasure that I approve this shared custody arrangement. A collective sigh of relief filled the room. The judge continued, Jack and Susan Thompson will retain primary custody. Lisa Morrison and Robert Pearson have regular visitation rights, which may expand as circumstances improve. She turned to Lisa. Ms. Morrison, I trust you'll continue on your path of sobriety and stability. These children deserve the best version of you. Lisa nodded. Tears of gratitude. I won't disappoint you. The judge then addressed Robert. Mr. Pearson, your willingness to relocate and be present in their lives is commendable. Robert smiled, squeezing the twins' hands gently. I'm here for the long haul, Your Honor. With a final warm nod, Judge Hawkins banged the gavel. Case closed. I wish you all the best. In the following months, the new family dynamic blossomed. Lisa dedicated herself to her sobriety, supported by unexpected friendships. Robert rented an apartment nearby, becoming a loving, steady presence. Emma and Olivia thrived. Their grades improved, they made new friends, and for the first time felt truly safe and loved. A year later, on Christmas Eve, the Thompson home was filled with laughter and the smell of fresh cookies. Jack watched as Emma and Olivia helped Susan decorate the tree. Lisa, 1 year sober, knitted scarves, while Robert hung the star on top of the tree. Careful, Robert, Jack called, laughing. No ER trips tonight, Robert grinned, climbing down. I may not be young, but I'm steady. The girls tackled Robert in a hug. It's perfect, Dad, Emma exclaimed, eyes shining. Jack's heart twinged at the word Dad directed at Robert, but he knew love was not finite. The girls had room for all of them. Later, as everyone gathered around the table, Jack raised his glass. A year ago, I found 2 scared girls in an alley on Christmas Eve. I had no idea how that moment would change our lives. He looked at Emma and Olivia, smiling with pure love. You taught us what family means. It's not blood or legal documents. It's love, forgiveness, and showing up for each other no matter what. Lisa wiped away a tear. Thank you for not giving up on me, she said softly. This year of sobriety belongs to all of us. Robert raised his glass to second chances and new beginnings, and to this amazing, unconventional family we've built. Susan, eyes shining, added, and to many more Christmases filled with love and joy. As glasses clinked and everyone began to eat, laughter and warm conversation filled the home. Emma and Olivia, seated between Jack and Susan, exchanged a look of pure happiness. Later that night, as they gathered in the living room to watch a Christmas movie, Jack reflected on the incredible journey of the past year. There were struggles and doubts, moments he questioned if this patchwork family could work. But looking around now, Lisa sober and smiling, Robert fully integrated, Susan healthier than she'd been in years, and Emma and Olivia thriving, he knew they made the right choices. Snow began to fall gently outside, covering the world with a white, peaceful blanket. Jack smiled, remembering that cold Christmas Eve when it all began. He had saved 2 little girls, and in doing so saved himself and his family. As the movie ended and everyone prepared for bed, Jack pulled Emma and Olivia into a tight hug. Merry Christmas, my little ones, he whispered. Merry Christmas, Dad, they replied in unison, eyes filled with love and trust. In that moment, surrounded by his perfectly imperfect family, Jack understood the true meaning of Christmas and life itself. It was about love, redemption, and the human heart's capacity to grow and hold more love than ever imagined. He closed his eyes, gratitude flooding him. The future was uncertain, but now he faced it with hope, courage, and a family stronger than any bond forged by blood alone. Drifting off to sleep, Jack dreamed of all the possibilities and the bright tomorrows awaiting them. The Thompson household would never be the same again, and that was the greatest gift of all.